This is the Paracasual Destiny Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to episode 8 of the Paracasual Destiny Podcast. I'm Sooltime, and I'm joined by Salliebug and Greenstego today. Salliebug, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning. And Greenstego, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, wow. You're sounding extra clear and higher quality today. Did anything change?
I am plugged into my laptop.
On my end, no.
No, I'm talking to Greenstego. So you're in your laptop?
Salliebug, are you saying on your end you don't hear me any more clearly?
Oh.
No, I mean, I would say,
Good point.
You're probably clearer. I could say that. Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk a little. Our tradition is developing into just what we've been doing in the game, the actual game of Destiny, the past week since our last podcast. Do you want to start us off, Salliebug?
Yeah, because it's going to be short. Not a lot. I feel like I did spend a little time on the weekend, like after our last podcast, maybe a little Sunday and a little bit Monday, doing some Catalyst stuff, getting, still working on trying to get Catalyst for some of my exotics that I have acquired the Catalyst for. I'm not doing Catalyst farming or anything, but I'm
trying to finish the ones you already have.
Exactly. So, going into Altars of Sorrow and just trying to get the Catalyst done on some weapons.
Let us not forget Escalation Protocol, which is actually farming for the Catalyst, isn't it? I think it... How does that work with the World Line Zero?
Yeah, I need to do that.
Because Mars is going away.
This week? I haven't done that this week. So
after the podcast, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about that last week, but I have one boss that I haven't hit with my World Line Zero, and that would give me the final, because I'm at 80%, and I didn't keep track of who I did hit and who I didn't. So
of course you did.
So it's a mystery.
Of course I didn't.
It's like a roll of the dice every boss.
Exactly. So I did it a couple of times just to make sure. Okay, did I hit him in the crit spot or where I needed to? So
yeah.
Yep. Tried that, and that was a bust. It obviously wasn't that boss. Haven't tried it this week yet, so that needs to happen. Did some other catalysts that I honestly can't even remember which ones. I think I got another one. I know I got Tommy's matchbook. I know I got that catalyst, and then I started working on I think Hard Light.
Yeah.
But I haven't finished that one.
Yeah, I just finished up the Hard Light one myself.
And then did the storyline, the means to an end, to get the next piece of lore from Eris. And that's it. Probably 2 hours total at the most, but...
Yeah. Well, it's back to work, or back to school in our case, right? We're educators. All three of us here are educators, so... We're on the educational grind with the added layer of pandemic imposed upon us, which is nice and weird. But I would like to hear if you've been, what your Destiny, if any, activity has been this past week. Stego.
This week, we decided to hop on and start working on the strikes for the Solstice armor. We still had blue.
Oh, that's right.
At the beginning of it.
Right.
And we just figured we'd start chipping away at that. Kind of just said, you know what? I just kind of want to play Destiny right now. I'm in a Destiny mood. let's hop on and do some strikes. We get the first one, we check our progress, and we have 3 out of 5 strikes completed.
Beautiful.
Oh.
So for some reason, we're getting triple progress. I don't know if they made it ubiquitous for the final week, or if it has something to do with the bug fix that they did where they said it wasn't multiplying properly.
Oh,
but
very interesting. I haven't heard about that. So, well, that's to your benefit.
That's to my benefit, and that is to the benefit of any of our viewers who have been putting off Solstice, or maybe have been thinking that, it's crunch time at work, and I don't really have time to do Solstice.
It's not too late.
We completed the strikes, the adventures, and the public events.
Well, I'll take a sip of coffee to that.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're going to get that magnificent set.
I'll at the very least get the Majestic, and if I get the Majestic, I want to be able to buy the
orbs. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
It's like I just want the prize from playing the darts game at the county fair or whatever, and it's like,
yeah.
I just want to show up to the fair and have a little fun. I want to play the games. I want to get the prize.
That's you just summed up the casual player experience, and that is a great analogy. You just want to, you don't want to stay. You can't stay all day, and you can't go on all the rides, but you do want to show up, have some fun, and then get back home in time.
And you can't grind every single game and get every single prize from every single game.
Yeah, looking at Destiny 2 as a fairgrounds, I really like that analogy.
I do too.
And if I'm to be honest here, I was a little discouraged last weekend because I hopped on and looked at all the stuff that's going away. And of course, one of our favorite resources, braytech.org, plug. He put in a wonderful color code so you can easily see what's got the countdown on it and what's going away. And it was so overwhelming that you get that feeling that there's just so much to do. I don't want to do anything. And so I was kind of tainted by, part of it too is going back to work and not having as much time. And so that's a little frustrating. So I kind of didn't do much Destiny this past week. Salliebug and I got on and did our means to an end mission just to get the new little morsel of Eris Morn dialogue and lore out of that. But I've got to say, the highlight for me this week was introducing Destiny to our granddaughter. She came over and hung out with us, and that was a super cool, like going back and just logging in and creating a character, watching her create her character, deciding what color hair, and then starting out at the very, very beginning in the Cosmodrome. It just brought back memories from, that summer in August, I think it was 2014, playing the beta of Destiny 1. It didn't
start with the Red War. It started with New Light.
The Cosmodrome. Yeah, it starts with the Cosmodrome. You go in, that very, very first thing where you get the auto rifle for the first time, and watching, and it was fascinating because she's learning how to do a first-person shooter, with the left thumbstick to look around, and the right, it's the left to move and the right thumbstick to look around, and learning how to coordinate the two thumbsticks, and watching the pace at which she was improving. So shout out to her for making my week in Destiny. That was just awesome. And I actually she got to a point to where she was doing an adventure, and I was able to hop on the other Xbox and play with her a little bit, and just follow her along, and take out a few ads with her, and it was great. It was just awesome. It's very refreshing, but it also showed me how The game really does need some work in the department of a new player, brand new player, jumping in for the first time. They're making attempts. It's like follow the blue Destiny symbol. But like the symbol wasn't there on the very first vendor that you're supposed to visit and get your first goodie, you know?
They also like
so it's a little buggy still, you know? And it's like she would not have known what to do if we weren't there.
Right. They made suggestions like, oh, if you want to kind of know the storyline and what happened, go visit this vendor. But there's so much else to do that, you know, without Sooltime and I just sitting there guiding her, they just said, go down to the EDZ and go visit Devrim K. That's what they had her do first.
Yeah.
It reminded me of kind of like jumping into episode 6, season 2 of Lost. You know, it's like
yeah,
and going down to the EDZ. That's not necessarily a bad thing because I did kind of gave her. It's like, okay, you know this big building, the church here, and there's a road that goes all the way around it. Just practice going around it and killing the enemies that pop up around it, and getting used to just kind of how to do your melee, how to do your jumps, and how to point and shoot the gun, and all of that. But eventually that gets boring, right? Eventually that's like you want to be engaged in the actual game and the storyline, and so I was able to direct her to Amanda Holliday and say, why don't you just start the Red War? That was the beginning of the story for, and I don't know, like maybe it's just like, okay, nobody really they didn't want to make someone go through all that if they didn't want to. But it does leave it disjointed if you don't.
No, I'm kind of envisioning I'm remembering what, like, the magic of Destiny 1, Year 1, starting out the character, and the way that it opened up the world procedurally through those missions, and the vision that they had with this, like, telling the story through the setting. Really delivered a lot better in Destiny 1, I feel. And Destiny 2 feels a lot more like payoff. Because starting the campaign, starting the story with the tower being destroyed is a lot more impactful if you already have a relationship with the tower.
Exactly, yeah.
What those of us who've been playing for 3 years really do.
Yeah.
But at that point, but someone who's just starting for the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of gives me Super Metroid vibes. Have you all played Super Metroid?
I have not played Super Metroid.
No.
It's a Super Nintendo game. Held in high regard. It's an esteemed game. And it starts off really, really well. And basically it starts off with like mystery and intrigue and finding out what has happened here, and then there is like an explosion that you have to escape, and so it goes really tense. And I guess that it kind of feels similar with like the story starting with your house is on fire, get out, get safe, and then you also run into a big scary boss. I don't know, I can see the direction that they were going for with having more of a plot driven, but I really miss the falling in love with the atmosphere of Destiny. And I think that Destiny 2 delivered more action and more strict storytelling, but I preferred the old way.
I think a lot of people did, actually. They missed the mark, and something Salliebug and I always talk about is we feel like Destiny 2 came out a year at the very least too early. Like, I don't think Destiny 1 was completed yet. We weren't done with it.
Definitely felt rushed.
And, you know, especially Trials was kind of just reached its peak and then all of a sudden you canceled it and went to Destiny 2. And we all know Trials of the Nine just didn't hit the same notes. And I wondered why. I remember at the time thinking, really? You're not bringing the same Trials over, importing it over? And then feeling like it was rushed. It was just rushed. Probably most likely by the hand of Activision, just to meet deadlines. And to also I feel like the game, to get sidetracked on that conversation a little bit, the game was also... it had a very fundamental shift in its philosophy or its design philosophy, and I feel like they wanted to expand and lower the age level of demographic that they were trying to attract. I feel it became more I don't know, we call it Disney-esque or something, with the characters and just giving you everything. And the skill gap was so narrow, it was almost non-existent in most of the activities. That first year was rough, but if you're a true fan, you still enjoyed the fact that they were trying to hit more story beats, which I appreciated. And the environments were beautiful because it's Bungie. And... yeah, and it set the table. It set the table for what we've got now.
Yeah, sitting with our granddaughter while she was doing the first campaign of the Red War, one of the things that she got burnt out and was kind of done, even though, because it's a long... Even though you were
forcing her to continue to play.
It was, well, I was like, if you give this up now, you're going to end up having to start back at the beginning, because it's like she just needed to get to that certain part. And I just helped her with it. It's fine. She's young. She's 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so...
but man, she really caught on to the whole... And I kept telling her, it was like, you learn how to do this now. There's so many other games you're preparing yourself for if you like first-person shooters, or even like Skyrim uses the same controls pretty much to move around and to point and aim and all that stuff. So she was excited. She was so excited because, this is her first, privileged, sort of curated look into first-person shooters. So she knew it was an adult game, and that was exciting for her. So
that's nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was so cool.
So that was kind of the highlight of our Destiny week.
That was the highlight of our Destiny week.
Was introducing her to it and kind of reliving it. And I remember being kind of harsh with Destiny about it, but it really wasn't. It's really not that bad.
No, it's great.
A story.
It's a great story. It's amazing.
But I can see someone who joins New Light and then without having a friend who's already in the game and like really having no idea what to do. They kind of have a general I don't know. I feel like the director needs work.
Exactly. Like I agree with that, because I think I imagine that it directed her towards EDZ, but it basically said, congratulations, you did New Light. Now, welcome to Destiny. Do you want to play Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit, or do you want to just do a patrol, but not specifically like walking you through any of that?
Right.
And saying, like, here's an idea, go talk to Devon Kay.
So, like, one of the things that she's supposed to do is get to level 770, right? That's, like, one of the quest lines is get to level 770. And
from
I was
750.
Like, well, you get that by... Right, from 750. So not too much, go up 20 light levels. And it's like, and I was trying to explain to her, you get that by picking up things on the ground, but I had to tell her that. Like, you're going to pick up stuff, and as you go across it, it's going to be better gear than what you have, and so you're going to want to equip that. Well, I guess now you don't technically have to equip it, but you do. And
I found,
and so that's not really, like, I had to explain that to her. That's not really explained in game, like how you go up in light level isn't really explained.
No.
And then the other thing that happened is she had umbral engrams dropping. And there's nothing in New Light that explains what an umbral engram is.
Yeah.
Like, why is
or
that?
Just any engram.
Or an engram in general, but
it takes a while.
Especially an umbral engram, because you have to go through a very specific, set of things to deal with the umbral engram, and she hasn't even been introduced to the character. Where that's, I don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess.
It's a mess, but on the other hand, I think for older people playing the game, people with more video game experience, I feel like all this stuff we're talking about that they left out of the game was picked up by the community with tools like DIM and Braytech.org and Reddit and YouTube and Twitter. And so by Bungie leaving out a lot of explanation of the mechanics for any part of the game, or explanation for currencies or whatever, it's created community and communication amongst players to figure it out. Like, when somebody figures it out, it goes on Reddit, then people YouTube about it or stream about it. So you have, the Twitch directories full of people guiding, giving advice, doing raid clinics and things like that. So by them leaving out a large part of the explanations for the mechanics of the game, it has created this community. I think that's a positive side effect of them being cryptic about what you need to do to succeed in the game and to progress. On the other hand, I felt like we were directing her constantly in the director. It probably would have taken poor our granddaughter. It probably would have taken her about an hour or more before she could figure out where to see what her quests were. You have to go to the director.
Point, you're just you're not going to sit there figuring out, how do I play this game for an hour?
Right.
So how cryptic do you want to be when we're talking about fundamental aspects of how to play the game?
You need to reveal the fundamentals,
and especially with new players.
Right. With it being raid mechanics, I don't mind that being a bit of a mystery. I don't mind the idea behind there being no hand holding there, but you need to. And again, this kind of goes back to the beauty of the Destiny 1 launch path with just exploring the Cosmodrome mission by mission, really kind of naturally, and then eventually working up to doing the Sepix strike.
Right.
Yeah, working up to doing a strike rather than boom, you're in the world, now go play a strike. And then I couldn't even imagine her at the level where she was going and doing a strike. Like, she barely had the mechanics of how to play the game, and then she was going to go into a strike with blueberries. It seemed like a lot open to her a little bit too early. I can just imagine, either stay in the Cosmodrome, or if you're going to direct them down to the EDZ, just having your ghost say, oh, look at that orb that's on the ground. Pick that up. Let's take a look at what it is. Is it, just being able to talk a little bit more about the fundamental mechanics of the game. Not the nuances, but just the fundamental mechanics. So,
I actually recall from my Destiny 1 experience, before I finished the campaign, I tried experimenting with, and a comment came up with Fractious Heart, which I'll get to in a second. I experimented with Strike Playlist before I fully finished the campaign, and I was still on Venus, I think, and I did strike playlist, was just like, what actually is this? What's going on here? And the first strike that I did was, whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars. Which was interesting because I hadn't unlocked Mars yet, and it was actually my first exposure to the Cabal. And it was that first room with the cave, and there's like sniper scions up in the top
I remember
of the
that
Cabal structure in the cave, and they're sniping at you. And so I find some cover behind some rocks, and then I get sideswiped by a phalanx, and I have no idea how to hit this guy because he's got a shield, and I don't even know what these creatures are. And it was like scary and mystifying because it also kind of felt like that time when you're in the Cosmodrome and you decide to experiment down in like the tunnels of that spawn area,
right?
And you run into this immune knight that just blows you out of the sky.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it kind of felt similar to that. And I was just like, wait, where am I? Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Wait, what are these guys? But also thinking I was really overwhelmed and I had just stepped out of line.
Yeah.
Right. I think one of the things that I noticed just when giving her some guidance is when you call up your director, when you push that little button, the menu button or whatever, and it calls up the director, it gives you the map first of where you are, and then you can go to you have to like slide over to get to quests. I don't know, I feel like, and then the quest, there's a whole lot of like different squares of which one, and they try to put the ones that you're working on at the top, or the most recent ones that you've picked up. But it was a little wonky, like, because I had to, like, because she picked up the Red War one, and that's in the classic box, and that box is all the way on the bottom, and she had to specifically click that one to see what she needed to do. Even though she had picked it up, it didn't show up as one of her most active ones. It was a little wonky, so that's kind of where, and I still, and I think they're gonna, I have vague memories of hearing them say they're gonna improve upon that design, because I still don't quite know what, I know you can sort them, like one has to do with just your catalyst. I don't know, it's a little wonky. But that's just me. Mm-hmm. And I know they're in constant design, trying to improve the design to make it user friendly, but without without like degrading the integrity of what they're about. And they are certainly leaning towards that MMO RPG characterization and storyline. They have pretty much made that pretty clear that is the direction that they want to go. So, and I know a lot of those, and I don't have a whole lot of experience with those, but I know
you played Fiesta.
Yeah, I did a little bit, and even that one I didn't. There's a lot. Those are designed to be huge and a lot of pieces to it. So I think that's kind of where they want to go.
Yeah. Well,
with it.
There's along those lines of the game evolving. There's been a lot of information released this week. And Greenstego, did you get a chance to look over This Week at Bungie, the TWAB that came out Thursday?
I remember, I haven't read it specifically, but I have watched some content creators go over it.
Yeah, the gist of This Week at Bungie came out September 3rd, this past Thursday, is about, they announced the final week of Solstice of Heroes, And then they get right into talking about the triumphs, what they're doing with triumphs, because up until now they haven't really mentioned where triumphs are going with the Destiny content vault on its way. And so they lay out some goals, and it doesn't seem like anything's changed in those goals, other than making sure it's clear what happens when content goes away. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about things evolving, and this ties into my experience last weekend of just seeing all these triumphs that you'll only be able to get them until November 10th, and just kind of me not killing my aspiration to do anything to get any of those triumphs done. And you have to, every now and again with this game, I have to reevaluate, well, why am I doing this if it's not fun, right? So,
yeah.
First and foremost, you want to have a fun time. With that being said, there's a balance between fun and being challenged to overcome something that's outside of your comfort zone or difficult to do, because ultimately that's a good feeling, and that's another reason we play the game, is to get better at it or to have some success with something that was difficult. So they are evolving the triumphs, and they are reorganizing them to come in alignment with the Destiny content vault and the seasonal changes. And it looks like they're splitting the triumph scores into two separate scores: a career score that represents the totality of what you've done in Destiny 2, and an active score for the things that can be done now in the live game. So it looks like you'll have an active score for the current season and a career score, which is sort of like your cumulative total. They also want to focus on the generic triumph scores into a leaner lifetime set that covers the basics of being a guardian. I don't really know what leaner lifetime set means, but that's the language they're using. They want to organize the rest of the triumphs around seasons and destinations. Fair enough. Track the history of what you've done as legacy triumphs. So this almost seems like a third triumph list, the legacy triumphs. So you have your career score, your active score, and then legacy triumphs that go into sort of like a triumph vault, I would guess.
Right.
So they go on to say that Beyond Light will include a set of triumphs that targets Europa. They all have a score. They include the content on the destination, strikes, raids, lost sectors, and all that stuff. Season 12 content, triumphs will have a score. Seasonal currency as a reward for completing the triumphs. They say seasonal currency. I don't think I've seen any mention of... One of the things I like about some of the triumphs are those rewards you get from them, like an emblem or a sparrow. Or I like seeing some of those types of rewards put in triumphs. Personally, I like that, and I hope they continue to do that. But there's no mention. It just says seasonal currency as a reward. And the triumphs are there for as long as the season is. The seasonal triumph score contributes to your active score. That's what I figured. And when it's no longer available, the seasonal set moves to legacy triumphs, and they no longer contribute to your active score, but they are still a part of your career score.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Out to the two of you, but also to the general chat if they have anything to say about it. This kind of like triumph tracking and giving your guardian, like it, if it doesn't seem like it's something that you necessarily have to ever really keep track of to play the game. Right? It's just for those who are interested in having um, something to pursue, or I don't know. I guess my question is this kind of typical of games like MMORPGs where you want to keep track of what you've done and where you're going and give you some focus? Or is this something that's unique to the Destiny world? I mean, I know triumphs in general because, you have achievements that you can get like on Xbox, and I know a lot of these are similar to those. Like, here's this game and you're playing it on Xbox, and here's a list of all the achievements you can get. So it seems to me like these triumphs are similar to those, only they're more, they're not specific to a specific console or a specific. Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Salliebug, because I always felt that there's some ambiguity in the game in that regard, because I always ask myself, well, if I just do all the quests, I'll naturally unlock triumphs. But sometimes I also think, if I just focus on getting some triumphs done, I'll get everything else will fall in place. And it's been a little bit wishy-washy of, what to do. And then you go to the director and you can see all the destinations that have stuff that you haven't completed either for that week or whatever, are marked by the little, sort of little beacon, the little bright yellow star, asterisk, whatever you want to call it, shows you, so you could use that as a guide. It might be a case of there's too many guides. There's too many ways to seek to figure out what to do next, or what should I be focusing on next. The most current, do I go after the most current exotic, or should I do something else before I do that? That's always a difficult thing to navigate for me personally.
Or is it just there again, and this kind of goes along the same conversation we were talking about Destiny being open-ended and its design anyway, in that here's a way for you to kind of keep track of what you're doing and what your guardian is and how you're evolving your guardian, but we're not going to tell you what you need to do or how you need to do it. It's just we're kind of giving you an opportunity to see what these stats and see what these triumphs are, and you can choose to go for them, and you can choose that. Like, there's ones I know I'll never attain, and it even says it in the TWAB. Some of these are only designed for those of you, those super hardcore
completionists,
gamers, and completionists. I mean,
you don't have to have fun with, say, Space Invaders by only chasing the high score. Space Invaders can be fun just for what it is for the majority of players, but there can be like a select group of people who really do pay attention to the score, and that is like a driving factor for them.
Yeah, so competitive.
Speaking of that, I'm going to do a plug. There is a short series out it's on Netflix, Neil?
Yes.
Called High Score. And it's kind of about the evolution of gaming, and Space Invaders comes to play in that, as well as some others, and people who
it's highly recommended.
It's highly recommended if you're interested in gaming at all.
Yeah, where video games came from.
And I think there's only like 5 or 6 episodes. So
it's pretty short.
Not a whole lot. So
but it's really well done.
It is. We watched that over here as well.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It was very fun.
Sooltime, I have a question for you.
Had been craving.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Greenstego?
I said it was the kind of thing that we had been craving.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to do a retro
documentary
experience walkthrough of like the history of video games, because Fractious Heart and I have kind of separate parallel histories with video gaming, because she didn't really do as much Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No.
Which I did both, but
yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, Sal, you had a question?
Yeah. What was your question?
My question was, when's the coffee break?
It's right now, as a matter of fact.
Because I could really use it.
I'm going to put on a coffee break tune while we all get coffee refills. And so, ladies and gentlemen, at home, if you want to go get your coffee as well, if you're driving in the car, maybe you can pull over to a Starbucks or a coffee drive-through of your choice. And we'll be back after this coffee break. All right, I'm back from my coffee refill, and I can see that Salliebug is making her way back to her studio to get back on. Greenstego, did you get a refill at all?
I did not get a refill. I finished the coffee during that coffee break. And
that
was nice. It was a reminder for me to continue drinking, and that was what I spent my coffee.
Well, that might explain your extra sharp insight and a tentative discussion today.
I enjoy coffee. I enjoy the way that it affects my mind.
Yes, it's a mind juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a natural incentive for life itself. Speaking of life itself, the next paragraph in the TWAB actually addresses what we've been talking about. Salliebug, are you back? She's not back. Well, I kind of wanted her to weigh in on this, but I think she's read this already. It says the lifetime set. The lifetime set. That was, they were talking about giving it a, I don't know what the lifetime set is, to be honest with you. Of triumphs, we're still on the topic of triumphs, will be about teaching players all the things you can do in Destiny. So they're suggesting that they're rearranging triumphs to actually be that guide, in a way, for new players. These will mostly target new players as they join our ranks. They will focus on helping players explore Destiny's sandbox and game modes. That reminds me, one thing I feel that triumphs are really good at doing, for me personally, is 1,000 kills with this kind of grenade, or 500 kills with this super, or, those are the, what do they call those? They're account triumphs right now, where you can do these things with a certain grenade, melee, in a certain subclass of a certain class, right? Like, Warlock, Hunter, Titan. And also they have those ones with the Catalysts do this as well. They make you explore something you might not have used before to really, really, get as good as you possibly can with it, figure out how it actually works. Okay, this grenade, if I lay it down between two enemies, obliterates them. This other grenade, if I use it, I need to really kind of hit them with it, or aim right at them with it for it to be effective. So you learn the mechanics of that particular ability, and you can decide whether you're going to make it a part of one of your loadouts in the future. So I feel like they do that really well, and that one point they made here about players exploring the sandbox and game modes actually resonated with me. And then the last burger dot here is, if new systems are added to the game, this pool will grow. So they've got the lifetime set of triumphs that they're introducing in Beyond Light that will sort of guide new players in the way that we were talking about before, using triumphs as a guide to the game to explore different areas of the game. What do you think?
I think that, well, something that Fractious Heart mentioned in the comment section is, well, the comment reads, I think triumphs and score are just for a bonus, kind of like side quests.
Yes.
The score and titles are to show off. I don't think it's supposed to be a task list. And so this is fundamentally, and I agree with that statement, and I think that this bar is to kind of almost fundamentally change the way triumphs kind of work. And I think that...
Or the intention, at least, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that it could be a good change. It could be a good direction change where it kind of draws attention to the triumphs. And so for people who, want to, or in order to get them to even exposed to this high score element of the game, they need to go there anyway. And not just because, it's saying I unlocked something, blah, 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 navigate to it, click it, so it stops glowing.
Well, I do like the, and you've scrolled past it right now, Sooltime, but maybe you could scroll back to that graphic. It's similar, but you can see that they have parceled it out a little bit so that whatever, like, if you have a particular focus, and it looks like it looks destination and season focus on those big gray circles.
Yeah.
And then the metals and the catalysts, like that you were talking about, and the lore chasers kind of have their own special little categories, so you don't have to...
Yeah, they're over on the side, aren't they, with the stat tracker?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, for, if you're one of those, it feels like it's... they've segmented it a little bit better for those players that have a particular type of play style where they do chase things like wanting to get all the medals, like you said, like the 1,000 kills with a grenade or whatever. That is, I don't know. It looks smoother. And again, as we've mentioned before, it's not necessarily something that you have to do. But if you're that type of player and you kind of need a little more guidance, you have something that gives you a little more direction on what particularly you should focus on. Mm-hmm. And I like that they're putting that focus on what is going on in that current season first. And then everything else kind of like, takes kind of like the second seat or whatever.
It's tricky designing things from their perspective because they're constantly trying to streamline the onboarding process for new players, because it's a constant criticism, and it's a valid point to say that this game is daunting to take on from a new player perspective.
Yeah.
But they also need to keep creating new content for the dedicated players who have been keeping up. And so how do you add more complexity to it and more things to do, while at the same time making it easier for new players to join? And that's the goal, right? Because they're bringing it to Xbox Game Pass with Beyond Light. They think that this is going to be an excellent time to start playing again. Just like when Season of Undying launched with the Moon, along with New Light experience. Like this is something that they're really aware of and they're really trying to work on. And I hope that this pays off, but for some reason, I don't know if my brain really wants to just replay Super Metroid right now, but
I'm gonna have to play that game now. I need to get that game.
it's an earlier attempt, and Super Metroid is just a masterful execution of environmental storytelling.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the way that it teaches you how to play the game, it does it in a way that reminds me of the I can't remember what this documentary was that I saw about indie game developers, but the developer who made Super Meat Boy said that he doesn't like it when a game's tutorial mode tells you explicitly what to do. Press the A button to jump. Like, he doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted to make the tutorial levels just kind of speak for itself. And the tutorial is just figuring out how to get through this area, this stage.
Yeah, so it puts the onus on the developer. It puts the tutorial becomes the onus of the developer to come up with an environment that teaches rather than the just like text, do this.
And that's where the real work is, right? Like,
yes.
Why all of us are so busy right now is because all of us right now are trying to create an environment that teaches you.
Yes.
Right.
That's what we're doing as educators.
We're inventing.
And that's why it's crunch time right now.
Yeah. We're innovating and inventing something that works for many different types of learners, right?
For me, last year, that was really crazy, and I did not do a very good job at it. I didn't know how to create my classroom into a space that teaches just by being in it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I didn't do that very well. There needed to be a lot of explicit instruction, a lot of explicit direction, and it didn't work very well. But now that everybody's going digital, everybody's back at that spot. Even educators with years of experience, like y'all's selves, right now. You gotta basically start from scratch.
Yeah,
and if you're like in our schools, because it's a smaller school and it's so we're attempting going back to doing in-person learning, but how do we do that while maintaining a level of safety and comfort for everyone? And you're in, like, walking through the school last week, and all the environments are so different than how they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like a whole new learning curve.
Yeah. My classroom doesn't honestly look that different from how it did last year, because I didn't really add that much to it. They just moved the desks apart. But my teaching partner, she had rugs and couches and a bunch of alternative seating and a bunch of lights that the kids could go up and turn on if they wanted and stuff. And it made her room really relaxing and really desirable to be in. But all those things had to go.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything soft touch that could absorb anything that the kids would even want to touch.
Yeah. Funny Bone brought up he mentioned Cuphead for its intro tutorial. And I think it brings up the point that you need a balance, because there, from an educational point of view, there's something to be said for teaching the skill of following instructions, learning how to open up a manual and figure out how to start the damn thing. And there's something to be said for problem solving, laying out a set of blocks that you have to put together in a certain way, or materials that you have to combine some of them together in a certain way to know what you need to do. So I think a balance between the sort of blatant explanation and the sandbox that is designed to teach what to do. I think a balance between the two is important. Yeah.
Right, because think about it. Like, if you got a Lego set that was that you wanted to do, like the Star Destroyer from Star Wars or whatever, and it came with like the 500,000 pieces or whatever, I might be exaggerating there. But without the explicit instructions of what to do, they just said, okay, here are all the Legos, and if you put them all together in the right way, it will make this a Star Destroyer. I can imagine it would be very difficult to do without having some pretty explicit instructions.
But also you could package in the packaging, the way you present the Legos, you can group certain Legos together that go together.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a combination of the two things you can do.
Because they always package them in specific ways.
Right, and that's the clue, right? That's your clue. Nice.
Because let's face it, and we do have a history of doing RPGs, and there's some RPGs where, we've done as much as we could do on our own, and then found ourselves going to a guide.
Yeah.
We actually talked about that recently and how all the guides are online now, but I remember actually buying the guides from Best Buy and having the magazine and looking through it and going, oh, we have to do this now, and following those guides. I loved it. I kind of really missed that. I missed having the magazine and flipping through the pages.
The Prima guides, the official. You buy it at Best Buy or whatever, for $20.
Yeah,
there's
those
something
were
about
great.
that mixture of the analog experience of having that physical guide combined with the digital experience with the digital interface.
Oh, just the bestiaries the artwork in those were so cool. Oh my gosh, I like the Final Fantasy ones for the earlier ones were so much fun.
And in the chat, Funny Bone did a shout out to Saga Frontier. That one was amazing as well.
Oh yeah.
Very amazing, but it would have been a very different experience without the guide, I hear.
The game facts, the old just text game facts. Man, I remember downloading those. Printing them out and then taking them out to the living room with the Dreamcast or whatever, the game facts.
Oh, I did that with one of my favorite games for a Game Boy, Dragon Warrior Monsters. It was the Dragon Quest series of games, but a Pokemon version where you captured the monsters and you did battle with those ones. And I printed it out like a breeding guide for it, but I made my own cover.
Right.
And stapled it all together. I still remember that cover that I drew for it.
Nice. That's missing. That's missing from games now. With the advent of Reddit and YouTube and just clickbait sites telling you what to do.
Now I actually really liked this this comparison that you had, Salliebug, too, in terms of instructions with a Lego brick set for the Star Destroyer. What would you, if you were to give somebody that and say, here you go, build it, would you think that they would have a different experience if they hadn't played with Lego at all before?
Oh, absolutely. If you know fundamentally how Lego, and I've seen it, being a teacher of many different age groups, see how different interact with Lego. Some like to have the picture in front of them and say, I'm going to replicate.
Salliebug 2, can you hear me?
I can.
You're cutting in and out, and you got awfully quiet. You may want to rejoin the Discord.
I had done that once, as you guys cut out.
Yeah, there's a comment that your volume is low as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can barely hear her through my.
All right,
and I want to hear what you have to say, so try joining again.
Yeah, quit and rejoin.
Stay tuned.
I don't know what happened on her end. Salliebug volume low. Salliebug audio low. The comments just keep coming in.
I know.
Yeah.
This is good.
I'm embarrassed for her.
Okay, I'm back. Is that any
That's
better?
much better. Oh my gosh.
Our podcast just dropped down to a 3-star.
Yeah, the viewers went from 125 down to 5 when you cut out.
All right. So as I was saying, and so just through visuals of watching children and how they deal with a big bucket of Legos, some would like a picture and be able to replicate that picture to create a house or a castle or whatnot. And others just wanted the big bucket of Legos and they didn't want to be told what to do or how to make it. They just wanted to create something completely on their own. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a little different, right? When you have a kit that's like a Star Destroyer, we're going to go with that because that's my original analogy. That group of Legos was designed to make one particular thing. That's not to say when you get that kit that you have to make that one particular thing. You can make something completely different with it. The question is, if you get that kit with that particular thing in mind to design, you kind of need some level of guidance, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be, okay, we're just going to put all of these pieces in different, like step 1 is these pieces and it's going to make this, and then you just kind of figure it out on your own. Or do you want step-by-step instructions of take this group from bag 1 and then put these pieces together first? Like how explicit do you want it to go? And some people want the step-by-step instructions and they still feel accomplished to make the big thing. And others want it to be open-ended. So, and I think that's kind of where Destiny is too, right?
Yeah.
Like we're like that with raids. Like I would much rather read the Reddit, watch the YouTube videos and know what I'm doing. Not necessarily the very first time. Sometimes it's kind of fun to just get in and see what's going on.
If you have the time.
If you have the time. But from a casual point of view, it's like, okay, we're going to try to do this raid today.
Everybody do your homework.
It was already hard enough to get us all to like meet at a particular time and find a time that we're all available at the same time. We don't have like 5 or 6 hours to kind of just explore it and try to figure out the mechanics on our own. So
yeah, I think the educational analogies to game design are endless. It's
nice that it's nice that it gives that avenue for content creators, right? For people who have that same passionate feeling of the game like we do, and this side passion of creating content about something that they really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole YouTube content creator thing is there's so much out there.
It's pretty amazing, but you think maybe that's why Salliebug, we tend to have a lot of empathy, for game designers because of our occupation of trying to come up with environments and materials in learning. You're trying to hit up as many different learning styles as possible. Is this an individual activity? Or is this an activity for a group to solve or to learn from or to do or to perform or to, whatever. And so it's hard to do. I mean, that's hard to develop lessons and activities that appeal or work for either individuals or groups of varying learning styles.
You've had that. You've had that experience, and I'm sure Stego, you've had that experience as well. It's like you have those students who work best when working with others and can collaborate and kind of like learn together. And then you have the others that
the
are
solo
just lone
players,
wolves.
right? Yeah.
And they're the lone wolves. They never worked well in a group. You know who I'm thinking of, Sooltime.
And countless people are like that.
That
right?
wasn't, that wasn't their skill set. That they really did their best work when they could be on their own, and when they were forced to be in a group, it wasn't always a very positive experience, both for that person and for the other people who were in the group. And you hear countless stories of people who go into an LFG and be in an LFG raid and it not being a positive experience. So
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you know the how do I put this? You can't please all the people. You just can't please everyone. You have to create an environment or a game that hits up various populations. But in a game like Destiny, it's very difficult. In any MMO or any sort of multiplayer game, it's very difficult to balance between multiplayer and solo player and new player and veteran player and low skill and high skill. It's a monumental task. But but the constant for me in Bungie and Destiny in particular is the environments are a nice place to be. I could go to Venus and sparrow around and my stress levels were lowered. Even with enemies shooting at me, it's just such a beautiful, fantastic environment. It's fun to be in, fun to look around and explore. So
it's in like the little things, how when you jump, your camera angle just like shakes on impact with the ground again, and the way that your camera like juts forward slightly when you do your melee ability.
Or if you're waiting for somebody to join you and you're in the environment, you look at some of the detail on the wall. I think we were in one of those passageways in the Infinite Forest. Those little connectors, those triangular connectors that you have to run through. And Salliebug was looking at her loadout, and I wanted to wait for her. So I went over and started looking at some of the detail of the design in that thing. Just these like round lights with little pulsating things coming out, and thinking, man, this is a monumental task to have a living, like, animated environment that most people just run by and want to get to the end of the strike or the raid or whatever as fast as they possibly can. And that's what it devolves into when you start going for high score rather than just kicking around, shooting baddies or whatever.
Well, and that goes with the lore as well, right? There's so much to that, and I am gonna be, as much as I love the lore and I love the stories, sometimes I get involved in kind of that day-to-day, just kind of like what I'm going for and what I'm grinding. And even when I'm lore chasing and I chase getting those particular lore pieces, I don't delve into the story as much. So I feel like, didn't it say something in This Week at Bungie on how the lore is going to be just set so that it's really there for you to be able to just read the whole book, even if you didn't get all the pieces, so that story is still open and there for you. And I like that. I like that they have opened the lore and the story, because there's someone who is very they have some amazing writers and have created these amazing story arcs that some people just never even really have full exposure to. And if you're not interested, you're not interested. But if you are, it is really nice. It's like, okay, I'm missing this one page of the book and I don't, and you have no idea where to get it or how to get it, or it's a secret triumph or whatever. But it looks like all pages out of the book will be, it says, go earn any missing lore before the season ends as well.
New lore will be unlocked
but everyone
through triumphs.
Will be able to read everything now, and that's what I was excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited about this change as well. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
It's one thing if you want to go and get the pages and earn the pages, but it's another to be able to read what that storyline is and what that story arc is. Because for those who understand what's going on, and you can watch some of the content creators, and they can help you delve deeper into those storylines. There's some great podcasts out there that delve deep into some of the lore stories as well. But I like that all parts of the lore in that whole book, that it just looks like it's just a little more accessible, and I'm excited about that.
Here's what I'm excited about. Lore will also have its own section and a brand new UI to show off the book covers and improve the reading experience. Little things like that I look forward to. So,
yeah, that is something definitely I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out, because it's not particularly readable. I wouldn't turn on my Xbox and navigate to the lore tab to read immersive high sci-fi fantasy passages.
But what if you could,
difficult to, like, even though, and I know they talked about trying, because let's face it, the Destiny 1 experience was even more cumbersome with the grimoire cards that you could only read offline.
I kind of liked it personally.
Outside of the game, you kind of miss it, but I think I miss it nostalgically more than actual, I don't know, earning the grimoire. However, even so, they asked for it to be in game, and you got it in game, but some of the story is there's just show lore to a piece of an exotic, and you have to, hold down a trigger, I think, to read that and scroll that. And the books, you open up a page and you read that, and then you have to back out of that and then open up the next page. It's a little cumbersome to really truly appreciate that's the story.
What if you opened up the lore and it had that sort of like authentic cover to it, and you could open the lore book up and see the words written, but have it read to you by Jeremy Irons?
Nice.
Would that encourage you to explore the lore in game more? I think yes. I think yes.
Absolutely. Oh, and speaking of that, there is another, I'm going to do another shout out. There's a lore content creator. He does other things as well, but primarily lore, Myelin Games. We might have talked about him before, but I don't know why exactly he ended up doing this. I think it was related to maybe a charity event or whatever, but he read one of the lore books from the beginning to the end. One of the
sort of like an audiobook. Yeah.
Like an audiobook. He's just and so I think it's like 3 hours long. So anyone who's interested in that book one lore stories,
we'll link to it in the description.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah.
Here's what I want.
Yeah.
Here's what I want. I want a Ultimate Beyond Light Collector's Edition available that actually becomes standard issue for anybody who wants to play Destiny, where with the game, you're playing the game, you're playing on your Xbox. Shipped to you is also one of Anna Bray's computers, and when you turn it on, it boots up, and it's got Destiny Item Manager, Braytech, and Ishtar Collective lore, just like all to the side of you. I think that is kind of the essential Destiny experience.
Yeah.
Maybe it also comes with a 3D printer that can print those books.
And it's only like $7,777, right?
Exactly.
But you need a code in order to buy it. You need to unlock a code in game in order to buy it by doing a lot of grinding. We have to wrap this up, and we haven't even gotten to the new stasis reveals or spotlights on the Behemoth and the Shade Binder. We haven't gotten to the new customization this week.
I think that's okay because they haven't talked about the Hunter yet.
So maybe next week we can do all three, our impressions.
Yep.
And I'm especially excited about the customization with aspects and what are the things you put in the aspects? Fragments, yeah. That's particularly exciting to me, and we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting once they've revealed the details of the hunter's special abilities.
Yeah, because you're a hunter.
And super and so forth. No, not just that, but also maybe after they've done that, the following TWAB next week will give a little more detail as well. So it might be better to just kind of group it all in one. And
also, there's been a reminder that Iron Banner is coming as well next week, after next reset, September 8th.
Do you think the new exotic weapon, that there's like one more exotic before this season ends that we don't have? Do you think that's gonna come on September 8th or no?
That's a good question. I don't know. I guess
we'll find out.
I think that I don't know. I think that the evacuation order quests will start next week, and I think that we will.
But that's like 2 full months, right? It seems like that's a long time to go. Because that's September 8th, and the new and Beyond Light's not starting till November 10th. So are they going to have like a full 8-week evacuation thing going on? Or do you think they're still just going to kind of do like this little trickle of...
No.
But the lore is going to be the lore for Eris is going to be done next week, right? That would be the last piece of that particular lore book.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll have to see. All these questions will be answered.
Maybe.
And again, I theorize that there will be some other kind of release or reveal on Thursday.
Yeah, September 8th we find out.
I think so too.
But Tuesday we find out about the Hunter, and we'll find out more next Thursday as well. So I think this we're going to have to wrap it up, just for no other reason than time, because the overarching theme of this podcast, I think, has been that great coffee begets great conversation. This has been a particularly engaging conversation with our educational analogies, I think. And we hope that I'd like to shout out to the Fractious Heart and Funny Bone for participating in our chat. We really appreciate that. So without any further ado, this has been the Paracasual Destiny Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the United States of America. Follow the YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, whatever you do. That would be great. Comment on Twitter as well. We're on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Send any questions you might have into us. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.